She has spent hours telling jurors about those so-called freak-offs. Ventura has told the jury she felt she had no choice but to participate in those drug-fueled marathons with prop. And she says that the one time she did try to leave, things turned violent.
It's 1:10 p.m. The courtroom is back in session. The judge's voice cut through the quiet like a blade. "Ms. Estabo?" he asked. "Has the witness had a chance to review the exhibits?" A slight nod from Cassie Ventura. Her eyes looked tired, not just from the hours on the stand, but from the years she was now unpacking in front of the world.
And the prosecution hasn't gotten there yet. It's the criminal enterprise. Who were these people that Sean Combs was conspiring with to engage in these racketeering acts? And they haven't gotten to that part yet. Cassie yesterday on the stand did identify some individuals within services of Sean Combs, including a person named KK, including security guards. So she identified a few people that worked in the inner circle.
Estabo stood, poised, her tone now sharper, more precise. "Let's talk about 2015, Ms. Ventura," she said, clicking the remote as another exhibit appeared on the screen. "This message, sent before a scheduled trip to Los Angeles. You said, and I quote, 'I'll do anything for you.'"
As expected, the defense lasered in on Ventura's jealousy. She admitted to being insanely jealous during her direct, so we knew this was coming. Prosecution may have elicited that testimony to take the sting out across. In addition to rapper Kid Cudi, Ventura said she dated actor Michael B. Jordan. That's the second celebrity to be named in the case. Combs overdosed on opioids at the Playboy Mansion and had to be hospitalized. The defense seems to be blaming the 2016 hotel attack on Combs withdrawing from opioids.
"Just say when. I want to be your favorite again. Do you remember sending that?" Cassie inhaled deeply. "I remember." "You were still in love with him?" "No," she said flatly. "I was surviving." That answer hung in the courtroom like smoke. Estabo shifted. "Ms. Ventura, you've claimed that these freak-offs, as you call them, were coercive. But here you are, texting him, initiating, asking to do more." Cassie's face didn't move. That's what manipulation does. That's what fear does. You become a version of yourself you don't recognize.
This time, defense attorneys questioned her about texts that she and the rapper exchanged during their relationship. We do want to warn you, the video and the testimony is disturbing.
Walked Cassie Ventura through a lot of messages that had to do with past drug use, both by her and by Sean Combs.
Defense tried to steer the narrative, to paint her as a willing participant in the very acts she now called abusive. But Cassie was unshaken. She reminded the jury, and everyone watching, that while the messages might appear consensual, the context was anything but. "I was isolated," she explained. "He made sure I had no one to run to. I had no control over my own schedule, my own money, even my own body. What looks like consent was really submission." Then came the tape, a 2016 surveillance video from a hotel in Los Angeles. The jury watched in stunned silence as Sean Diddy Combs was seen violently attacking Cassie, punching, kicking, dragging her through the hallway as if she were garbage. There was an audible gasp in the courtroom.
Under cross-examination, defense attorneys read explicit messages between Cassie Ventura and Combs as part of their argument that Cassie willingly participated in the rapper's so-called freak-off.
Attorneys for Mr. Combs to try to poke holes into the account of Cassie, saying that she was a willing and active participant in these freak-offs.
Even hardened faces turned away. This wasn't gossip. This wasn't tabloid drama. This was evidence. And it was damning. The prosecution leaned in. "Ms. Ventura," they asked gently, "why didn't you ever go to the police?" Her voice cracked for the first time. "Because I knew no one would believe me, because he made sure of that. He told me, 'I own you.' And for a long time he did. He owned her music, her career, her image, even her silence." The courtroom watched a woman unravel, not in weakness, but in strength. She wasn't falling apart. She was finally telling the truth. And then came the question. "Ms. Ventura?" Estabo asked. "You settled with Mr. Combs for $20 million last year. Isn't this all just about money?" Cassie didn't flinch. "If it were about money," she said, "I would have stayed quiet. But I got tired of pretending. I got tired of protecting him. I didn't come here to destroy him. I came here to free myself. The judge looked at the clock. We'll adjourn for the day, he said. Court will resume tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. As Cassie stepped down from the stand, the room was silent. Her testimony had shaken everyone, from jurors to journalists to Diddy's own legal team. But the trial wasn't over. More witnesses were expected. More evidence was coming. And behind it all, a question loomed.
She's now giving new graphic testimony alleging the music mogul abused and exploited her for years. We do want to warn you, some of the testimony is disturbing.
She suffered from multiple urinary tract infections and mouth sores from all the oral.
Her husband, Alex Fine, he is here in the courtroom, and yes, during what was yet another very uncomfortable moment during this trial was when we heard the names Ash, Islander, Skylar, Vin, and Brian. Those are some of the 13 escorts who Ventura says she and Combs hired for the so-called freak.
It's day 3 of the trial. The world is watching. Outside the courthouse, news vans lined the streets. Protesters held up signs, some in support of Cassie Ventura, others defending the man once known as the king of hip-hop. Inside, the tension was thick. You could cut it with a knife. At exactly 9 a.m., the bailiff called the court to order. All rise. Cassie sat silently at the plaintiff's table, hands folded tightly in her lap. Across from her, Diddy entered with his legal team. Stone-faced, avoiding eye contact with everyone. The mask of the untouchable mogul was cracking. Today's witness, Melissa Andrews, a former assistant to both Diddy and Cassie during the years 2013 to 2018. She was sworn in. Her hands trembled. Ms. Andrews, the prosecution began. How long did you work for Mr. Combs? Almost 5 years, she answered, her voice thin. I started as a production assistant and eventually worked directly under him and Ms. Ventura. Did you witness any acts of violence? A pause. She swallowed. Yes, she said. Many. The courtroom leaned in. Can you describe one? Melissa nodded slowly. In 2016, during a party at his Beverly Hills home, he dragged her by the hair through the kitchen. She was crying.
Testimony, she appeared exasperated at times. She was sighing. She took pauses. She spoke about how she got to a point where she didn't want to live anymore. She said that she then went into drug abuse and trauma therapy, and you could see that perhaps she was still processing a lot of this ordeal.
They have a couple different angles that they can go with, the defense, right? They can say that she was jealous. They can say that this was consensual, that she was essentially willing to subject herself to this for a lavish lifestyle.
Screaming. No one stopped him. We weren't allowed to. Why didn't you call the police? Her eyes filled with tears. Because we all signed NDAs, and because he had security, cameras, he had eyes everywhere. If you talked, you disappeared. Not literally, but your career, your reputation, gone. The prosecution showed a series of internal emails and text messages between staff. Messages like, he's in one of his moods, keep Cassie out of sight. If she says no again, he said to remind her who she belongs to. Melissa confirmed the context. Diddy had full control over who Cassie saw, what she wore, what she ate, when she slept, and who she worked with. Her schedule was his to decide. And then, the bombshell. Did you ever witness what Ms. Ventura described as a freak-off? Silence. Yes, Melissa whispered, more than once. The jury froze. Describe what you saw. It was in a suite in New York. He would fly in women, sometimes strangers, sometimes celebrities. He'd tell Cassie to wear certain clothes. He'd film everything. Sometimes he'd threaten to leak the footage if she didn't obey later. The nudge intervened. Miss Andrews, did you ever speak to law enforcement about this before? No, Your Honor, I was too scared. But not anymore. The prosecution rested their questions. The defense pounced. Ms. Andrews, Diddy's lawyer said sharply, you were fired in 2018 for violating company policy. Isn't that true? Yes, I took a photo I wasn't supposed to, of Cassie, bruised. Isn't it possible you're testifying for revenge? She looked the lawyer in the eye. Number, I'm testifying because I saw a woman get broken piece by piece, and I helped cover it up. Her voice cracked. And I'm sorry for that. The courtroom was silent again. By now, the press had dubbed it the trial that shook hip-hop. Because this wasn't just about one woman. This was about a system, about power, about silence, about how far a man can go when he believes he's invincible. And then came the final moment of the day, a voice recording from 2019. Diddy, screaming, "You think you can leave me? I made you. I own you. You'll never be free." Cassie's eyes filled with tears. But she didn't cry. She was past crying. She was fighting. As the judge dismissed court for the day, everyone in the room knew one thing. This trial wasn't just about Diddy's past. It was about whether his future would finally be held accountable, to be continued.